Hello, everyone, and welcome to our weekly edition of a NEC Women's Basketball GEICO Google Hangout. As always, this Google Hangout is brought to you by GEICO. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com. Today's special guest, only 2 weeks to go in the season. It's the stretch run. Today's special guest is joining us from Loretto, Pennsylvania, and there are frigid temperatures out in Loretto, as is usually the case there most of the year, but especially today. I know they delayed the class schedule 2 hours. So with all that said, Alexa Hayward was kind enough to join us today. Alexa, welcome to the Google Hangout. Thank you for making this happen. I know you had some weather issues, a delay, and then you had to go to class on top of it. But thank you so much for hanging out with us today. I want to start off by talking about this past weekend because the Red Flash, there weren't too many signs of life, at least from the outside. But all of a sudden, Saturday comes and you play an awesome game on senior day. Then Monday night comes and you beat the first place Central Connecticut Blue Devils. And now you've won back-to-back games for the first time all season, and you're back in the conversation for a playoff berth. You got to be feeling pretty good this week, no? How are you guys feeling out there?
We're definitely feeling a little bit more confident. My teammates have always had the confidence, and I've always had confidence in them. And this weekend we played it. We played that way. So I'm just happy that we could pull off 2 big wins and hopefully get some momentum going into the playoffs.
Now, you mentioned the confidence right off the bat, but in addition to the confidence this past weekend, what else was different? You won 2 games pretty convincingly, and they were against 2 tough teams. What happened? How did you guys flip on the switch and get it going? What was different from this past weekend that may have been missing earlier on in the season?
I think we were really playing off of emotion this week. We realized that it's coming to an end, and I think my team really wants to send us seniors out on a good note. But we were hitting shots. Everyone was contributing. We played solid defense this past weekend, and I think that's something that we really couldn't say in prior weeks. But we really kicked it up a notch this weekend, and I'm just proud of my teammates for contributing all that they could.
Yeah, and I don't want to overlook what you guys accomplished this weekend, because I think it's important to point out that some teams, when their luck is down, things aren't going well, they're mired in a losing streak like the Red Flash were, sometimes these teams tend to quit or tend to fold up the tent and go home or just go through the motions. But the Red Flash did the opposite. How did that happen? How did you guys keep such a positive outlook and really get the inspiration and confidence going this past weekend? Really all season long, how have you kept a positive outlook? Because I know that you're not used to losing, and I know that St. Francis certainly isn't used to losing. So how have you helped this team keep a positive mindset and keep the eye on the prize, so to speak?
Well, our team has great team chemistry. Probably one of the best that I've seen in my 4 years here. And, just in the locker room, if it's a positive atmosphere and we just love to be around each other, I think that usually translates onto the court. This whole year it really hasn't, and it's been there's been a certain disconnect, and it really hasn't made sense to us. But this past weekend it clicked, and I think that throughout the year we've had confidence in each other. We know what the people beside us can do, and our coaches just kind of reminded us that the season's not over. They haven't given up on us, and we shouldn't give up on ourselves.
Well, the season certainly isn't over, because with those 2 wins this past week, that moves you into a 3-way tie for the final spot in the NEC tournament. And if you look 1 spot up, Fairleigh Dickinson is a half game up in 7th place, but basically the way it's going to break down is you have 4 teams left fighting for 2 spots, and they're all virtually tied.
Right.
Now, what does it mean to you, or how important is it for you to help get this team over the hump and back into the postseason?
Personally, I would like to lead by example and just kind of, show that fire that I've always had, and show the passion that I have for the game in these last couple weeks that I can. Nothing's ever promised, and I think our team knows that. And it's important for me to do it for my coaches and for my teammates, especially the young ones, knowing how much adversity we've been through this whole year. It's important to me to show them how to bounce back and to show them really how to handle it whenever you're losing, and how to bounce back from it and just have more of a positive attitude about the whole thing.
Now, I certainly commend you for doing so, and I know that the team is especially young this year. How has that affected your role on the team? I know last year, of course, you had Allie Williams, and she is a 2,000-point scorer, 1,000 rebounder, one of the most decorated players the league has ever seen. And you're kind of a secondary scorer to Allie last year, but now Allie's graduated. You had the most experience on the team coming into the season, and you have a lot of young faces out there. Did you kind of come into the season looking at yourself as a leader, and were you ready to accept that leadership role? And are you happy with how you've done so far in that role?
Just coming into the season, I kind of looked at the leaders that I've had in the past, coming from my freshman year all the way up to my junior year with Allie. She's really showed me how to handle myself, how to handle situations, and how to lead by example, and I thank her for that. And also coming into this year, I felt like I needed to not only be a vocal leader, but do what I could physically to get our team over the hump, because Allie, you can never fill that void. She's an incredible rebounder. She could score at will, it seemed like. So I kind of wanted to do what I could to get in physical shape, improve upon my shots, shot selection, and kind of show them what Allie showed me.
Now, I got to ask you, you mentioned about what Allie can do on the court, and hard to replace her, and keeping up the energy and everything, and it kind of sparked a question in my mind. How do you like this style of play that St. Francis employs? Because watching it, it certainly can't be easy to execute. It's a high-energy style. Coach Haig is all about maximizing the number of possessions. I'm not quite sure where the team ranks this year. I know the scoring is down a little bit, but you still want to play that high-intensity basketball. And I notice you're playing 38, 40 minutes every night. Basically, my question, Alexa, how do you do it? How do you do it? 40 minutes, night in and night out, high energy, up-tempo, running all over the place. I certainly couldn't.
Well, just in the beginning of the season, our coaches had us in great shape. I don't know if you know what a 5 and 30 is, but we ran 20 of them in a row. And it's not easy. It's very, very difficult. They had us on jump ropes. They had us running miles up hills with sandbags. It was crazy. But our practices definitely prepare us for games. I think a good coach has a harder practice than games will be. So really, practices are a lot harder than games because we go hard. We're physical all practice for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours sometimes. And I think that they really prepare us mentally and physically because we know what we're getting into coming into the game. And they also do a very, very good job at resting us when is necessary. You know, playing 40 minutes, 38 minutes, it's hard, I'm not going to lie, but it's a fun way to play. You know, no one wants to come and watch a game that's just stagnant and, you know, holding the ball, passing, whatever. Like, it's boring, especially for a girls' game. You know, at least with guys you have the athleticism, but I think it's a good change of pace to see women running up and down the floor, making athletic plays, and really playing risky basketball.
No, it's funny you mentioned that because I remember talking to Susan Robinson Fruchtel, who obviously was coaching St. Francis prior to Joe Haig, and obviously Joe Haig was on Coach Fruchtel's staff. But I remember asking her, Coach, what can be done to increase interest in the women's game? And she said, there are a lot of things, but I think where you start is scoring. If you score more points and there's more action, it's going to attract more people. So it was kind of cool that she said that, and now Coach Haig kind of has a similar philosophy, and you guys have been executing it. I mean, obviously no one will ever forget, we're talking about can you get back to the NEC tournament. Well, last year you had a pretty memorable NEC tournament game against Sacred Heart. I think it was 132 to 124, second highest scoring game in Division I history. And I think you had something like, what, 43? I mean, 43, whatever, just another day at the office, right?
Exactly. I mean, it's crazy because Allie had 47, Gabby Washington had 47. You know, it was just a crazy high-scoring game, and it was fun. It was tiring, but it was a very fun game to play.
No, I remember watching, and it was pretty exciting. It was one of the most, if not, to be honest with you, the most exciting college basketball games I've ever seen, with the double overtime, and I think you guys were down 5 points with like a couple seconds to go, and somehow you forced another overtime. But moving on back to the present time here, and we talked about the team, we talked about your individual performance. I want to ask you, though, how did you wind up at St. Francis in the first place? Why did you choose St. Francis? I know you're fairly local, Beaver Falls, PA. You went to Black Hawk, which I know turns out some pretty good student athletes. We've had a couple decent football players from there in the league. But what was it that attracted you to St. Francis? Was it just it was a local option? Was it the winning tradition?
I mean, it's so long ago it seems like now, but honestly, St. Francis was my only Division I offer. Nobody else recruited me the way that they did, and it's a family atmosphere, really. And I'm very close to my family. My brother actually got recruited for football here, and I mean that was the first time I heard about the school. So, and also one of, as you mentioned, Matt Parker graduated from Black Hawk High School. He came here for football, and I think he set some records. But yeah, it was a good opportunity to come up and see the place. Susan actually coached with one of my old high school coaches as well, so it was kind of a personal connection, and you know, they really fit my playing style. You know, whenever I first came in here, I was a shooter, stayed in the corner, just did my job, and that was it. I really didn't move much, but you know, it's been a growing experience. It's been crazy, actually. But I'm really happy that I chose this place, and you know, it holds a special place in my heart.
No, and I remember those days. You know, you'd get your 8 or 9 points, a couple threes, few minutes off the bench, but now your role has obviously evolved over the years. You are the go-to player on that team. Of course, you were preseason all-conference, looked at as one of the better players in the league. And now that brings me to the next topic, one of the more impressive student athletes in the league. We talk about basketball, but there's also this thing called class in college, and you do the whole class thing pretty well. Academic all-district, and now you're on the national ballot, and you can possibly bring home an academic All-America selection to St. Francis. And if you do, it would be the third year in a row that a St. Francis women's basketball player has accomplished the feat. So, first off, what did it mean to be selected academic all-district and be a candidate for academic all-America? I assume it has to be a pretty big honor.
Oh, definitely. It's awesome to be recognized for your basketball and how well you play, but it's on a whole nother level to be recognized for something that you're expected to do in the classroom as well. You know, not everyone loves to go to classes, and it's hard, and especially to balance with the time management type deal. But you know, I enjoy going to class. Our teachers here are incredible. We have an amazing student-athlete development team here, and they make it a lot easier on us. You know, with the traveling and everything, it's very, very difficult to keep up with grades, but our teachers are all very understanding, and our development team's awesome.
Now, I mentioned before how it's unconventional class schedule today with a 2-hour delay, but I know that it was a little bit of a challenge trying to get you to join us in the Google Hangout. But where were you before this? Maybe what classes were you blowing off this Google Hangout for? I got to ask you.
Well, our class schedule was moved back a couple hours today, which was awesome. If it hadn't been for the 2-hour delay, I would have had an 8 a.m. class, which is desktop publishing. Then I'm in there for an hour and 15 minutes. And then I was off to social psychology with Dr. King, who is a great supporter of women's basketball and really all sports here. So, yeah, it was there, and then off to practice and lifting, and now I'd be sitting here with you.
The best part of the day, right? I mean, hey, other than practice, of course.
Definitely. Practice comes first.
Okay. Now, you mentioned desktop publishing, but then, what was it, sociology, or what was the course with Dr. King?
Yeah, social psychology.
So that's kind of a different discipline, two different disciplines. What's your major here? Are you just taking every different kind of class, or what's the deal?
I'm a communications major, and believe it or not, both are requirements for my graduation. So.
Oh, cool. Okay. So they have a is one part of like the core curriculum there at SFU, or?
Well, desktop publishing is more for my major. Social psych is, I think that's just one of the psychology options, so it's more of an elective. But Dr. King's an awesome person, and I wanted to have one class with her before I left.
All right, and she gets a shout out too on the Google Hangout. Maybe the first professor to ever get a shout out on a Google Hangout. So I hope she's watching, and thank you for supporting St. Francis and the NEC. It's good to know, or it's good to see some of the professors out there catching that flash fever.
We have too. There are a lot of professors here that support us at games every Saturday, Monday. It's awesome.
And well, I imagine that it is a pretty small college community, small number in terms of enrollment at St. Francis. I'm sure the class size is small, and I'm sure you're in some classes that are almost like a little discussion table rather than a big lecture. So with that said, I guess it's just kind of the whole atmosphere of the school up there, a family-oriented feel on campus.
Definitely. It's a tight-knit group up here on the mountain.
Up on the mountain. Yeah, I've been up there before, that's for sure. My favorite place actually is the Sheets in Crescent, though, at the bottom of the mountain. So it's like, you know, but yeah, you can't go wrong. You got at the top of the mountain, you got St. Francis U. At the bottom of the mountain, you got Sheets. I mean, you can't go wrong. But enough with Sheets, because I don't think they're paying for advertisement on this program here. But anyway, I guess that'll just about do it for our hangout. I want to give you the last word. Any shout-outs? Any predictions for the upcoming, for the last 2 weeks of the regular season? The floor is yours, Alexa.
I guess I just want to say, don't count us out. We're going to keep scratching and clawing to get in the playoff race, and I know my teammates are going to step up and, do their job, do their thing, get their job done.
Don't count out the red flash. And to be honest with you, I don't think that will ever happen in the history of Northeast Conference women's basketball. No one is going to count out the red flash, not with the history that program has, and not with great players like Alexa Hayward. But before we wrap it up, one more thing I forgot to mention. Everybody out there, go vote for Alexa Hayward for the Senior Class Award. Senior Class Award, she's one of 10 finalists, and we want to make her the winner. So, Alexa Hayward for the Senior Class Award, maybe you should tell them why they should vote for you, Alexa.
Oh, geez. Just maybe so I could represent the Northeast Conference the best that I can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. See, you're humble and you're a team player. That's why I like you, Alexa.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, from Alexa Hayward out in Loretto, Pennsylvania, I'm Ralph Ventre here in Somerset, New Jersey. A full week of NEC women's basketball ahead, Saturday and Monday. Watch all the games on NECFrontRow.com. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on our Women's Basketball GEICO Google Hangout.